everyone, and welcome back to my glitchy redstone series, in which I learn redstone without tutorials. Last video we made a grandfather clock and an alarm clock which sounded a bit like a disaster alarm. If it's your first time watching the series, the rules are now passing by on the bottom of the screen, and you should absolutely watch the previous videos. This time we will be doing an automatic fireplace as suggested by Romygames. Thank you very much. As you can see, they also suggested a 7-segment display for the alarm clock we did last video, but we will get to that next episode because I am a coward. Let's start. Okay, so the first thing is figuring out what are we going to use to hold our fire, right? And Romygames already gave us a little bit of a clue by suggesting netherrack and campfires. So if I am right, that's loud. If I am right, I believe that when you use this dispensers, yeah, dispensers. I always get dispensers and droppers confused. When you use dispensers, you can turn on like these kinds of things. Oh, without having to do it like manually, right? So in theory, this should be good enough in terms of turning it on. Now, a warning, guys. My cat is here. She's being very clingy, so you might occasionally hear her in the microphone. But yeah, there we go. That works, and that works perfect. So the turning on, easy, no problem, and it stays in there, so that's good. And the turning off, I know you can turn them, with water. You could probably use water bottles or buckets of water because I also know that they can like dispense water buckets and then pick up the water again. But what I want to do is actually a little bit more interesting, if you will. I actually want to try turning off the fire by moving the block. So let's see if that is possible at all. Um, I'm not confident that it is, but it might be. I don't think it works with campfires, but it might. It might. So we're gonna try this. So if I move this one, the fire turns off. Yes, we're good. And yeah. Okay, so pistons cannot move campfires. That's a bit disappointing, but not surprising to be honest. Um, so okay, very good. So we're going to go with the netherrack. I also think that, well, I guess the thing is that campfires give it more of a chimney fireplace vibe, right? Because of the logs. But I really want to do a mechanism that uses pistons because I love pistons. I love using pistons in redstone. So we're gonna go with the netherrack, and then if I have time at the end of the video, I might come with a different solution for the campfire, just so we can have the two like models. But okay, let's get started then on the turning on mechanism, which should be fairly simple. Okay, so I've made a little fireplace design, very simple. It's just meant to give us the illusion of having a build. And I've connected, or I thought I had connected, I think I didn't. 1 second. It is there. Okay, 1 second. I think I misunderstood how redstone works. Okay, I fixed it. I kind of forgot how dispensers were activated, so we put a solid block underneath, and that block is getting powered by this redstone line, and that powers the dispenser, and so it turns on. Okay, we have that. Easy peasy, ignore that. So now the next thing is to actually figure out how we're gonna turn it off, which I think is arguably more difficult. Um, and my idea for this, again, was to use the piston. Um, I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I think I have an idea of how I can do it. So let's try that out first, and then I'll show you what my idea is, right? Okay. So I have this idea that When this turns on, this is also going to be on, so the netherrack will be in place. But then when we want to turn it off, I like turn this off. There's gonna be a lever there. This is gonna turn off, and it's gonna extinguish the fireplace. Now, I guess the only thing that I don't like about this is the emptiness of the design, but I can actually um, cover this up right here and it won't affect anything. So we're good on that front. Um, and it will just leave it empty, kind of like if there are no logs, right? So now the main thing is that I have to connect it in a way that works like that. And I have a bit of a theory on how I can do it. But we're gonna see if it works. Okay, there we go. So I decided to change because the piston wouldn't be able to be hidden here, if anything. I decided to change the piston over to under the netherrack. So if you go down here, you can sort of see it there. And then I connected a line of redstone to the piston so that when we press the lever, the netherrack goes up, the dispenser thingy fires the flint and steel, and it turns on the fire. And then when we want to turn it off again, we just do that. The netherrack disappears, no fire, and there we go. That is mm, an automatic fireplace using pistons to turn it off. Now I know what you're gonna say. That was way too easy. I did it way too fast. Honestly, IRL, I think it took me less than 20 minutes to figure it out. I thought it was gonna be more difficult because I was struggling to sort of conceptualize how I would do it. So okay, too easy. I agree. Let's now try to do one with water, which is something I really didn't want to do because I think that managing more than one dispenser is going to kind of kill me. So let's try to come up with a new design for a fireplace, probably a bit bigger because we're gonna need two dispensers probably. So let's come up with a new design for the fireplace and let's try to do one that turns off the fire with water. Okay, so I've come up with a potential solution for this. Now, because we're using water, I have to put this pressure plate here so that it won't spill out and ruin everything else. And it has the added bonus that when you step on it, it turns the fire on. And then I installed this little button here that uses an observer to detect the changes in the redstone in order to be able to, well, dispense the water and then pick it back up once the redstone turns off. Now the problem is that I would like to connect them into a single like input, but I'm honestly not sure how to do that. I was thinking about it while coming up with the solution, but I still haven't been able to figure out what to do. So we're gonna do something that we haven't done in a little bit, which is we're going to message a friend and see if they can help us. If they can give us a clue to help come up with a solution for this. Let's see what my friend says. Okay, so I talked to my friend and they gave me a clue, but I did not understand the clue. She told me something about like storing the initial state, but I did not understand what that means. So I'm just gonna experiment until I can get something working. And just as a reminder, I'm doing this to myself, okay? Like this was not even mentioned in the original channel. I'm just doing this to myself for whatever reason. That I might not be able to do it perfectly, but I mean if I fail this part, I'm not failing the actual challenge, okay? Because the person Romygames who gave me the challenge didn't say it had to be with water or anything. I'm doing this for fun, okay? So okay. Here we go again. Let's go. Okay, so in this segment, I decided to keep my entire process in because I found it very interesting how my brain was working to find a solution to it. Originally, I was gonna delete it, but I decided against it. So here it is. It is a quite a long segment, so if you want to, you can skip it. It's mostly just going to be me talking over this recording to explain to you what was going on. So the first thing that I was doing was recreating the fireplace, just the functionality part. I managed to break the dispenser somehow, but it was a quick fix, so no problem. And I recreated it like this to be able to work with it more easily because working on it underground was just too difficult. So my objective for this fireplace, if you remember, is that I wanted to have a single um, input for both lighting the fire and then dispensing and collecting the water, right? So that was the thing that was bothering me or concerning me, was that I didn't know how I could do, especially the water part, in a single flick of the lever, right? So that was my goal, figuring out how I could do that. Now I was choosing a lever because it was more permanent than a button. A button just gives a certain pulse, a certain number of ticks, but it doesn't stay like that, and I needed it to stay like that. Um, so we're doing a lever. Now here you can see me doing another one of those infinite um, signal loops. I don't actually know what they're called. What I was trying to do was actually do one of those in which you get the redstone power, but once you eliminate the source of the power, it starts like dimming slowly. But I didn't realize that you couldn't do that with repeaters, which now that I know about it, it makes sense because a repeater just intensifies the signal. Um, so that's why it wasn't working, because I had a repeater in there. I had to get rid of that and replace it with another comparator, which will close the circuit, but it wouldn't keep the signal, going eternally. Um, so it took me a while to figure that out. I eventually will do it, don't worry. um, Doing here more tests with buttons, trying to see the amount of signal. Then I change it to a comparator and I notice that it is working. So now we're gonna do a little bit of testing, and as you can see there, I figure out very quickly that it does work how I want it to. The only problem is that the piston is going off like multiple times, right? And I don't want that. I don't even remember why I put a repeater here again. I think it was to try to slow the signal or something. Obviously that was not gonna work. So then I changed the shape of the system. Then I'm gonna be adding more comparators to try to compensate for that. And it does work a little bit. You'll see in a moment as I add them, right there, that it does go slower eventually. But it's like not enough to compensate for the fact that it's still activating several times. Because if it's doing that with a piston, it's also gonna do it with a dispenser, and I needed to only do it twice. Let's remember that. So okay, I do that. I'm moving around. This video makes me think that I look like a little bumblebee, trying to figure out what's going on. Here I was trying different things, cause that moment when you saw me like pause the game, I was actually investigating locked repeaters, because if you remember, the clue that my friend gave me was that I had to sort of store the initial state, and the only way I could think of doing that was by using a locked repeater. So that was what I was trying to figure out here. So you can see very quickly that I figured out how to do that, but then I don't know how to use it. I tried to connect it to see if that alone is enough, but of course it isn't, because in the end nothing is changing. And then I figure out that I have to combine it with the comparator thingamajig that I did before. It's still not working because, of course, I need to separate it. I decide to separate it by adding a little bit of redstone dust there to sort of isolate that part of the mechanism. It's still not working, and I don't realize it there yet, but it is because there's still a continuous um, pulse of redstone or redstone power going on. So when I get rid of that, well, it works, as you can see. Here, I was so close to the answer, but I discarded way too quickly. Experimenting with a comparator, this is what I did for my um, password protected door that I showed in the first episode, even though that's not what I built in the first episode. And I was trying to figure out how to include that into the mechanism. It was the answer. I gave up with it too quickly, but you'll see me come back to it later. Then here I'm trying it without dispenser alone, wondering if maybe it will work without an observer. Obviously it won't because the dispenser only works when there's an on charge, to call it something, or when there is a pulse. So we need the observer to detect the lack of energy or pulse. Then I very quickly figure out that I can dim out the signal by adding a longer redstone power line and a longer redstone dust line. So I do that. It's now working with two pulses. I reattach the locked mechanism, still not working quite there. I get rid of the locked repeater because I'm confused. I will put it back on pretty quickly, don't worry. But yeah, here I'm super close, so close to figuring it out. It's not quite there yet, but I'm very close. Making some adjustments to make it work better. The locked repeater is right there again. But what I'm failing to realize is that I need a delay between how the comparator mechanism turns off and then turns back on so that the observer can detect something. So I install again the comparator to create the two sources of power. That helps, and there we go. I've figured it out. Oh my god, I think I just figured out how to do it. Um, oh my god. Oh, I might be just right. Okay. Oh god, okay. Um, okay, I'm gonna very quickly try to move this here, somehow, and then, um, Jesus. Okay, let's do that. Let's see. Okay, behind me is a very messy thing. I'm sure it can be done more efficiently, but remember that the goal of the series is not to be efficient, but to actually manage to create something that works. So in theory, um, well, I actually need to turn the campfire off first, but in theory, I have created a system that allows me to use both dispensers from the same lever in a way that the water is not going to stay there. It's actually going to pick it up. Um, I'm literally shaking from how excited I am at having managed this. So okay, let's try it first. Let's see if it works. Okay, so I am like this will turn the campfire on. I'm gonna try that in a moment. Then I do this, and it turns it off. It picks up the water, and then if I flick it, oh, I always forget how to power up these things. 1 second, I did it wrong again. It's okay. This is fine. Okay. I very quickly figured out that the block underneath this dispenser was being powered. That meant that the dispenser was also being powered, so it wasn't activating. But I got rid of it, so now it should work, and we're ready for the moment of truth because I am not. Okay, let's see. Okay, fire sun. There we go. Oh my god. It's done. It's done. It works. I am not going to bother covering this up. It's not worth it. But all of this is supposed like this is supposed to be ground level, so all of this is supposed to be covered, don't worry. Um oh my god, I am genuinely so excited about the fact that it worked. I was struggling. You guys have no idea how much I was struggling to make this work, but it's done. It's done. It's done, and I'm so happy and I'm so proud of myself, but I'm also so overcome with emotions. I'm like shaking and I cannot focus enough to tell you what I learned today. I'm not even sure what I learned today. Um so yeah, just oh my god, okay, let's calm down. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this because it was difficult. Next video, we're probably going to be trying to do the 7 segment display. I'm still very scared about that, but I'm gonna try my best. If you have any other ideas for contraptions or challenges I should do with redstone, please leave them down in the comments below and let me know what you thought of the video. And if you have any idea how to make this a bit more compact, also let me know in the comments. Alright, bye bye everyone. See you. Bye bye.